Star Citizen's video content was supposed to be back to weekly this year, but another week goes by with nothing. What is going on? Will hiring Ollie43 fix all of this? Or have CIG just completely given up on video content? Here is what Jared said back in January.
As far as shows like this are concerned, well, I'm happy to report that we're going back to weekly from now on. So whether that's ISC, SEL, BTS, or whatever a particular episode is called, we'll be back with something to share each and every week that we can. I've missed you. And one of you sent me a giant wooden hammer, which kind of feels like a threat. But I'm going to try my best.
It's now the 31st week of this year. There have actually been 32 videos, but they haven't all been weekly. From that ISC in January, we actually got 13 weeks in a row where there was at least one video per week. But since then, it's been much more stop-start. In the next 15 weeks of the year, 7 of them had no video. If you count from that first video where Jared set out his intent to go back to weekly, it's actually been 25%, a quarter of the weeks where there's been no video. And of those videos that we've had, what have they actually been? Well, we've had 32 videos, like I said. 13 of them have either been ship commercials or behind the ships, looks at ships, marketing. Only four of them have been ISCs, inside Star Citizens. We've had 5 which have been kind of patch cinematics, just showing off the latest patch in a nice shiny way. And then we've had 10 Star Citizen Live, SCLs. Now, the ship commercials and the behind the ships, they're here to stay. Clearly, that strategy is working for CIG. The money from ship sales continues to roll in. This is, like we said, pure marketing, but without it, the project doesn't really carry on. I would argue the SCLs, the Star Citizen Lives, are the only videos right now providing much insight into the project. These long live conversations with devs can actually deliver updates, what's going on in the game, and it does feel like open development. The conversations with Benoit over the last couple of years have done a lot of heavy lifting for my confidence in the project. He speaks really well and seems to know what he's talking about. These SCLs don't require any gameplay video capture stuff, but they obviously do require planning and devs that are prepared to go on camera. But my one request, really, if anything CIG would do, could we please go back to these nearly weekly? These, I think, are the best way for you to go forward. They're less high effort than the Inside Star Citizens with loads of stuff flying around in the background, B-roll. I think this is what I would hope for, more of these. Inside Star Citizen, yes, it did used to be great, with detailed looks at features in development, sprint reports, different formats. But really what we've got now is a shell of what it used to be. In 2026, those 4 episodes that we've had, they've been patch reports, which effectively, they just show all the things that are coming up in the next patch, which is fine. But many people have checked out what's going on in the PTU, or they've watched other YouTube channels showing off what's happening in the game. And so these episodes, these patch reports, they don't really bring anything particularly exciting. Like I said, I think if we could go back to Star Citizen Live nearly every week, I think I could probably live with ISC staying as it mostly is. But it is a shame that what was once the top premier show that we had, giving us all sorts of insight, developers showing off what's going on, what's coming up in the future, it's a shame that it is basically now not really even worth watching. Ultimately, I think CIG are miles away from where the video content should actually be. I followed the game from the start. I backed in 2013. I'm pretty sure I've watched almost every single video they've ever put out. I've got some problems, yes. When the video content was regular, it would be something I look forward to every single week. A weekly connection with the project, a habit. When there was a rare week without content, it was fine. Okay, they'll just be back next week. But it's now the opposite. I open up the post this week in Star Citizen and I expect no video content, or at least not particularly interesting video content. The behind the ship stuff, it is fine and serves a purpose for CIG, but it doesn't really excite me in any way. I feel at this point like I'm conditioned for disappointment. Obviously, in the grand scheme of things, none of this is really that big of a deal. It's not ruining my life, and CIG are not solely responsible for my entertainment in life. The only thing that the lack of the open video content really does to me is just makes me feel slightly less connected to the project. I do think, though, that this strategy from CIG is having an overall negative impact on how the community feels. I think it's pretty obvious to anybody who spends any time on Reddit or Spectrum that people are on edge. Broken ships, broken gameplay, broken patches. 2026 has not gone very well. Patience seems to be wearing very thin for some people. Some are stepping away, giving up. And then also people are buying spaceships. So we're still on track for another record-breaking year, but who knows? I'm pretty convinced, though, that if we were getting regular, actually weekly, good video content, not just ship commercials, it serves as a sort of weekly shot in the arm. It gives excitement, a bit of insight about what's coming to the game. And I'm pretty sure the community wouldn't be quite as negative as it feels right now. And so we get on to the recent change that CIG has actually made. You might be thinking, oh, this is all disastrous. Why is it all going so wrong? They have made a change. They recently hired somebody to help Jared, which is a move that I think a lot of people have been hoping for. I was on Space Tomatoes podcast recently, and he always asks at the end of that, he says, make a silly prediction. And here was mine. Ollie43 has been hired as a new content manager. My hot take will be Ollie43 is able to make somehow, I don't know why I'm putting so much pressure on the guy. He can make the video content great again. Somehow the hiring of Ollie will mean that we get regular video content. That's the pressure. The pressure is on Ollie to fix the video content that basically is dried up. We've got to hope that them adding people to help to work around Jared and to help him means that he can actually get some more content out for us. Bringing people in to help him seems sensible. So hopefully in a few months, we'll all be singing the praises of the video content from CIG. Now, I don't think anywhere near enough time has passed to make any sort of judgment on this. But the hiring of Ollie seems to be some sort of proof that CIG does want to improve things. My hope, is that there's going to be more going on behind the scenes as well. It's not just one hire. Hopefully they're hiring more people to do the gameplay capture stuff, producers, who knows. Hopefully there is a genuine effort to go back to weekly video content. I guess these are all my feelings. I'd love to know in the comments what you feel about this. Maybe you don't care. Maybe you're like, just make the game, doesn't matter. Or maybe you're like me, you kind of miss the glory days of weekly content, something to get excited about the game. Let me know what you think.